Good on, people. We are Tottenham TV, and in the final pre-season game, just under a week until the big kickoff, is Tottenham 2, Hoffenheim 2, which obviously followed on from a 3-0 win yesterday. But, you know, if you came here expecting attacking patterns of play, if you came here expecting a good game of football, you would have been thoroughly disappointed, because it was a bit of a shocker, to be honest, lads. It really was a bit of a shocker. Rusty. Everyone, the majority of players on the pitch were rusty. I won't say everyone, because I think Luca Williams-Barnett did look sharp. But I guess the main talking point is Maddison getting his first start of pre-season and looking very rusty himself, giving away a penalty, trying a turn in the box and giving it away, and fouling his opposite number in the box, gave away a penalty. Spurs go 1-0 down. And look, against the run of play, Spurs get back into the game with a corner and a header from Ben Davies. Was a really nice work to set piece. But I guess the main takeaways from this is that the players outside of the first 11 that started yesterday against Hoffenheim don't look ready, nowhere near ready.
I think part of it, yes, a lot of them look rusty and they look like they need more time on pre-season. A lot of them haven't had pre-season minutes. But on the flip side, a lot of them as well, it's a mix and match team, isn't it? Maybe you put Fernandes or Bentancur in the team yesterday, do they look a bit different? Same with some of the other players. So it's harsh to judge completely, but yeah, I think a lot of them, especially Maddison, clearly is a bit slow. He's a bit rusty. He was turning not as sharp as we know he can. His passing wasn't as crisp as it usually is. I do think as the half wore on, he started to get on the ball a bit more and he started to look a bit more confident, but obviously was taken off at half time. So clearly he was only able to last 45 minutes, which kind of tells you the levels he's at the moment. He's going to need a few weeks at least to really get up to, probably to get up to full speed, he's probably going to need a bit longer than that. But even to be performing at a good level, he's going to need a few weeks probably, because, you know, the way he gave away the penalty, he just looked really rusty, didn't he? And looked completely off the pace. I think someone like Sarr, interesting enough, he started a bit rusty, but I thought he actually, by the second half, he was really growing into the game and was looking a lot sharper and actually turned into one of our better players by the end of the game. I think it wasn't a game really to see De Zerbi ball. You have to say, I think Hoffenheim were the ones dominating the ball majority of the time. They were the ones making most of the running. It was more kind of Tottenham under pressure for a lot of the game and having to defend a lot. So it wasn't really a game where we saw how ready the team is in accordance to how they're getting up to speed with this tactics or anything like that. But I think there were obviously some decent individuals. I think the star of the show, Luca Williams-Barnett, was a class above everyone else, really, yet again. And some of his brilliant dribbling, he looked quick, sharp, scored a brilliant goal, and he was the brightest spark by far.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, from start to finish, no one was kind of on his level. The ease he was taking it, sometimes he was taking it past his man. He looked physically up to the challenge. He was getting himself in dangerous areas. He just looked like he was ready for a game today, where a lot of the others just kind of are either coming back from injury, it's their first chance in pre-season. I think him and Ben Davies were probably the best Spurs players on the pitch today. I think Sousa made a decent account of himself, but for Luca Williams-Barnett to get a goal today, it's fantastic. You know, you saw yesterday Mikey Moore getting 2 goals. What happens with him, I don't know. But Luca Williams-Barnett is too young to go out on loan, so he's going to have to stick around. And I think from what we've seen from him in pre-season, he needs to stick around the first team. He needs to be in and amongst it, in my opinion, and playing with men, because, you know, you saw at times he was able to breeze past, you know, international players, men players that are seasoned pros. So this is his level. And look, he's not a perfect player, don't get me wrong. He's 17 years old. He's still got a lot of learning to do. But the way he does that learning is being in amongst the seasoned pros. And I think we've got such a talent on our hands with Luca Williams-Barnett. And I really hope he's in that first matchday squad next week.
Yeah, the likelihood is, the way things are going, he probably will be. But what I like about him is not only physically does he seem to be taking people on and even making it look effortless, but he does things with a bit of quality. Like even his passing, when he like a switch of play or he draws a ball out wide, it's with a bit of class. It's crisp. It's not a bobbling pass. It's into the path of the player he's looking at. When he when he put that cross in for Danso at the back post, right on the money. I mean, the guy has quality in his boots. I think physically he's getting up to speed with the men's football as well. He just looks like a real talent, and the way he took his goal with supreme confidence, just stroked it into the corner, and he didn't even celebrate it like it wasn't a big deal. And you think about, he's a 17-year-old scoring for the first team, and he didn't seem to think it was like a great thing, which is just goes to show the confidence he has in himself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of players have spoken about that kind of self-confidence that he does have, and it's there for all to see. You know, if he gets knocked off the ball, or if he loses the ball, or if he doesn't take a man on successfully, he gets up and he goes again. You know what I mean? He doesn't give up. So it's fantastic. But look, the reality is it wasn't really a game of football that we saw today. It was just a glorified training session. That's pretty much what it was. So it's good to get minutes in some of these players' legs. Bentancur played 90 minutes today. Mateus Fernandes, 90 minutes today. Maddison, 45 minutes. Sarr, 90 minutes. Luca Williams-Barnett playing close to the 90 minutes. So all these players, I think the minutes would have put them in good stead going into the season next week. So with Mateus Fernandes, obviously everyone's so excited to see him play after that first goal against MK Don, scoring an absolute worldie with his first touch in the Spurs shirt. I think you saw, mostly good from him. A few bad moments in terms of losing the ball in some bad areas, but you really saw him spraying the balls left and right. Unbelievable cross for Ben Davies's goal as well. That ball playing ability, you just saw it on show today, didn't you?
Yeah, I think he was probably one of the players maybe hampered by the players he was playing with, not receiving maybe as good a passes as he would be if he had Van Hecker and Senesi behind him. Also didn't have too many good players to maybe pass the ball to in front of him. But I actually think him and Bentancur grew into the game quite nicely. I think both of them, as the game went on, started to really show their quality in the middle of the park. And yeah, Fernandes, brilliant cross for the goal. And I think you saw that we know there's an extremely good player, and we're all very excited. I do wonder, I think, what De Zerbi does next week. Obviously, another week in training, and so they've got another week to prove themselves. They're ready for Brentford, but obviously Bergvall had a pretty good game yesterday, so it's going to be interesting to see what he selects come the first game against Brentford in the starting lineup. But I liked what I saw from Bentancur and Fernandes mostly today.
Yeah. But look, at the end of the day, there's not really much to go on watching this 90 minutes of football. It was a very experimental side against a Hoffenheim side that made a host of changes through various parts of the game. A lot of kids getting on the pitch today. So I don't think, we can really sit here and say that we learnt too much from the game. I think Brandon Austin instead of Dubravka was a bit of a surprise, and I don't think Austin probably did himself any favours with his playing out the back. I think it was horrible at times. A lot of times it went out of the pitch, and a lot of times it was playing Spurs into trouble. But on the flip side of that, he did make a couple of good saves throughout the game. So a bit up and down from Brandon Austin. But what De Zerbi wants from his keepers, and he wants keepers comfortable on the ball, like Kinski is. Kinski obviously is at a high level of that, but Brandon Austin didn't really show any examples of it.
Yeah, and even gave away a corner, didn't he? Him and Danso screwing up one of their attempts at build-up and put us under pressure. I thought Danso, again, he's only had 3 minutes in pre-season, but he looked kind of rusty. He didn't look particularly great either. So it was obviously a chance for a lot of these players to get more minutes into their legs ahead of the season. I think that was obviously the goal. That's why we had the second friendly. So I think from that point of view, it'll be good. We didn't lose, so that's also positive, although Hoffenheim were the better team. But I think, in terms of the positives, having Luca Williams-Barnett ball out as he did, that was probably worth watching the game for.
Yeah, that and Maddison, and to see Maddison back on the pitch regardless of how he played. You know what I mean? Maddison to get 45 minutes in his legs when he's barely been training and hasn't featured yet in pre-season is a massive positive for me. It's a bit of a shame, because we heard that Kudus could be involved this weekend. He hasn't seen any minutes, so that's a bit of a shame. Obviously, with the likes of Dominic Solanke, we don't know what's going on there. Mickey van de Ven hasn't played yet. So, there are some major concerns going into the start of the season. But what can we do? We can only go with what we've got. And, with what we've gone through over the last couple of years of all these injuries, you thought, new season, new hopes that we're going to put all these injury worries behind us, but we are going into the season with 7 or 8 kind of injury concerns, which is, not great.
Yeah, but it's an interesting one. Like, a lot of these players are currently not injured, or reportedly they're not injured. I think last season and season before, obviously we had several long-term injuries and we knew they were going to be out for a while. Like, when it comes to Van der Ven, Solanke, Kudus, Udogie, like, I don't know what the situation is. Obviously, there are concerns because they're not playing at the moment and they haven't had any pre-season. But in terms of, like, concerned about how long they're going to be injured for, we just don't really know what the situation is.
But, like, are they training? Like, if they're not training, like, why are they not training? Like, is there more going on that the club is actually letting off? You know what I mean? Because if they are just trying to manage their minutes and being super cautious of them, surely they'd at least be training.
You'd hope so.
That's what you would think. That's what you'd assume. And a lot of them are not training. You know, we I don't remember seeing Udogie in training. I don't remember seeing Van der Ven in training. I don't remember, Kudus, I think, has just come back to training. So all these players, there are massive question marks about them.
Well, we know that we saw on the sidelines Van der Ven, Solanke were in training gear. I believe Udogie and Kudus were not.
Yeah.
So maybe that gives an indication of who's more ready.
Yeah, and I think when Porro came back and they did that guard of honour, I don't think Van der Ven was in training gear.
I know obviously there was no Porro today, but I'm assuming he's only had one training session.
Porro I'm less concerned about because he was the last one back, so it kind of makes sense for him not to be involved this weekend. But the others I am pretty concerned about, and let's hope that it's just them kind of managing the minutes and they'll be all right. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But like I said, not really much to learn from today. Good to see the players on the pitch. Good to see Maddison back on the pitch, and good to see Spurs not actually go through the whole of pre-season unbeaten. So yeah, not really much to say on the game.
Yeah, the game, as you say, was just about getting minutes in the legs. It's not really, you can't really judge performance too much. You can obviously see who's sharp and who's not, but it's not really about judging performance of the team.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts on the game. 2-2 at Hotspur Way. Yesterday, Spurs winning 3-0. And next stop is the Premier League. Next stop is Brentford away. Saturday, 5:30. Do Spurs look ready for the new season? Please let me know in the comment section below, because I do have some questions about it. I don't think we do look completely ready. Look, I haven't been following other teams pre-season. I know Arsenal, looking at Arsenal's results, they have lost or not won in the majority of their games. So maybe it's just a case of a lot of teams just don't look ready right now because of the World Cup and because of various different situations. But like I said yesterday, I think it is going to be a slow burner, this Premier League, for a lot of teams because of the World Cup. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below. Do you think Spurs look ready for this current campaign now pre-season is done and dusted? But that is your instant match reaction.